For the longest time, I thought peace was just the absence of fighting. But sitting here now, in my own space, a space I've built just for me, I realize it's so much more. It's this deep, quiet calm that settles over you when you finally stop fighting for someone who was never fighting for you. That kind of peace, that kind of profound relief? It wasn't handed to me. I had to pack up 6 years of my life, piece by painful piece, and walk away to find it. It's strange looking back, because for years, I was just surviving. And honestly, I should have seen the end coming way sooner than I did. My name is Alex, and Chloe and we'd been together for 6 years, married for 4 of them. The first few years, they felt normal. That comfortable rhythm? Building something together, dreaming about the future, all the things you do when you think you've found your person. But around year 4, something shifted. It wasn't a sudden earthquake, it was more like the ground slowly, imperceptibly tilting. She landed this new job at a consulting firm downtown in Seattle. Better pay, great benefits, and I was genuinely thrilled for her. She'd worked so hard, she deserved it. The job itself wasn't the problem. It was everything that came with it. The late nights at the office, the endless after-work happy hours, the weekend team-building events that, mysteriously, never included spouses. Suddenly, I was eating dinner alone, sometimes 5 nights a week. At first, I brushed it off. New jobs are demanding, right? She was trying to prove herself. But then she started talking about Ethan. Her best guy friend from work. And it wasn't just casual mentions. It was constant. Ethan became this invisible third person in our marriage, without ever stepping foot in our apartment. Every conversation somehow circled back to him. How funny he was, how they grabbed lunch, how he gave her career advice. I'm not a jealous guy. I'm really not. But there's a huge difference between having work friends and essentially replacing your spouse with someone else. I tried to bring it up. Carefully. Not accusatory, just honest. I told her I felt disconnected, asked if we could set aside some time, just for us. She looked at me like I'd suggested something completely absurd. Said I was being insecure. That this is what modern friendships look like, as if I was some ancient dinosaur who couldn't grasp that men and women could be friends. And maybe they can. I'm not saying they can't. But when you're texting someone until midnight every single night, and your husband is sitting right next to you, being ignored? That's not friendship. That's replacement. Our arguments got more frequent. Not screaming matches, but these cold, dismissive conversations where she'd just make me feel crazy for even bringing it up. I started wondering if maybe I was overreacting, if I was the insecure, controlling husband she kept implying. Then came that night. The one that changed everything. I remember every detail. It was the moment I realized I wasn't crazy. I was just done. She came out of the bedroom, wearing this tight black dress I'd never seen. The tags were still in the shopping bag on our bed. Heels that added 3 inches to her height. And that expensive perfume, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary that she said she was saving for something important. I asked if she was going out again, trying to keep my voice as neutral as possible. She said she just needed to blow off some steam. I asked if it was with Ethan. She rolled her eyes, like it was the dumbest question in the world, and said it was a group thing. But she wouldn't look at me. Just kept checking her phone, smiling at messages I couldn't see. I stood there in our living room, watching her grab her purse and her phone. And something in me just broke. Not dramatically, no big explosion. But quietly. Like when you've been bending something for so long, and it finally just snaps. I asked her, "Do you even want to be married anymore?" She stopped. Turned around. Looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold. Annoyed. Like I was an obstacle she had to deal with before she could go have fun. "If you don't like how I live my life," she said, her voice flat, "then leave." And then she walked out. I heard her heels clicking down the hallway until the elevator dinged, and she was gone. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes, just staring at the door. And then I did something I'd never done before. I took her seriously. I pulled out my phone and called Matt, my buddy from college. Told him I needed his truck and about 3 hours of his time. To his credit, he didn't ask questions. Just said he'd be there in 15. Then I called my brother, Sam, told him to bring boxes, and maybe one more friend with a car. By the time Chloe got home at 3 in the morning, smelling like vodka and wearing cologne that definitely wasn't mine, I was gone. Every piece of clothing I owned, every book, every item that was purely mine, packed into Matt's truck and my brother's SUV. I left her engagement ring on the kitchen counter, right next to her coffee maker, where she'd see it first thing. My keys were beside it. Our wedding photo was face down on the table. And underneath the ring, I left a note. 4 words. Exactly 4 words. You were right. Goodbye. I took one last look at the apartment we'd shared, at the life I'd tried so hard to build, and I felt nothing but relief. The next morning, I woke up on Matt's couch to 17 missed calls and 40 text messages. Watching them come in was like watching someone go through all 5 stages of grief in real time. The first few messages were angry. Where the hell are you? You took your stuff like a thief. Are you serious right now? Then they shifted to confused. Is this some kind of joke? Are you really that petty? And then, desperate. We need to talk, you're being childish, and finally, please just answer me. I didn't respond to a single one. Not because I was playing games or trying to hurt her, but because there was genuinely nothing left to say. She'd told me to leave if I didn't like how she lived her life, and I'd done exactly that. End of story. But Chloe wasn't the type to accept silence. She needed a reaction. Needed the drama. Needed me to come crawling back so she could feel like she had the power. And when I didn't give her that, she escalated. 2 days after I left, she showed up at Matt's apartment at 11 at night, pounding on the door hard enough that his neighbors came out to look. Yelling my name. Alex. I know you're in there. Stop being ridiculous. We need to talk like adults. Matt opened the door, told her I wasn't there, which was true. I'd already moved to my brother Sam's place across town. She actually tried to push past him, to check for herself, until he stepped into the doorway and told her if she didn't leave, he was calling the cops. She left, but not before screaming, "You're a coward, Alex," loud enough for the whole building to hear. Running away doesn't solve anything, which was rich, coming from someone who'd spent the last 2 years running away from our marriage into another man's arms. The next week, she showed up at my workplace. Somehow talked her way past the security desk by saying she was my wife and had forgotten something important. Cornered me in the hallway outside my office. She looked terrible. Hair messy, like she hadn't washed it in days. No makeup. Wearing sweatpants and one of my old college hoodies she must have found in the back of the closet. And she started this whole speech about how we could fix things, how every marriage goes through rough patches, and how she was willing to go to counseling. I just stood there. Didn't engage. Didn't argue. When she realized I wasn't going to respond, she grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave marks, and with tears running down her face, she asked, "Do you even care about me anymore?" I pulled my arm back, told her she needed to leave, and walked into my office and closed the door. I could hear her crying in the hallway for a good 5 minutes before she finally left. Security had to escort her out after she refused to go on her own. My boss, Brenda, pulled me aside that afternoon, asked if everything was okay. Told me that if I needed to file a restraining order, the company would support me and document everything. I thanked her, told her I was handling it. But honestly, I wasn't sure what handling it even meant at that point. I changed my phone number that same day, gave the new one only to family and close friends, and started the painful process of separating our lives in every way possible. I met with a lawyer, Sarah Peterson, this sharp woman in her 50s who'd been practicing family law for 20 years and had seen every manipulation tactic in the book. The first thing she said to me after hearing my story was, "Let me guess. She's going to claim she's pregnant next." Like she'd written the playbook herself. She walked me through the divorce process, helped me separate our bank accounts, change my address on all my documents, and file the paperwork to officially end things. Chloe tried reaching me through mutual friends, through social media, through my brother. But I'd already told everyone not to pass along messages. That if she wanted to communicate, she could do it through her lawyer once she got one. About 3 weeks after I left, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. When I opened it, I saw it was from Chloe, using someone else's phone. The message said, *Alex, I'm pregnant and we need to talk about our baby. You can't just abandon your own child, *. My first reaction was panic. That sick feeling in your stomach when your whole world shifts. But then I did the math and realized it was impossible. We hadn't been intimate in over 2 months, maybe closer to 3. And I'd actually been tracking that in my head, because the lack of physical connection had been another glaring sign of how far apart we'd drifted. I forwarded the message to Sarah. Told her it was a lie. And she actually laughed, called it was actually good that Chloe had tried this, because it showed a clear pattern of manipulation that would help our case if things got messy. Sarah sent a formal letter to Chloe, stating that any further contact outside of legal channels would be considered harassment, threatening legal action if she continued, and requesting a pregnancy test if she wanted to make that claim officially. Knowing full well there wouldn't be one. The messages stopped after that, at least for a while. What I didn't expect was the reaction from everyone else in our lives. Chloe's parents called my brother Sam. Demanded to know what I'd done to their daughter. Said I'd abandoned her when she needed me most. That I was throwing away a good woman over nothing. My brother Sam, bless him, he told them exactly what had been going on. How she'd disrespected me for months. How she'd prioritized another man over her marriage. How she'd literally told me to leave. And her dad actually said, well, she didn't mean it like that, as if words don't have consequences. Sam told them, then she shouldn't have said it, and they hung up on him. My parents, on the other hand, they were supportive in that quiet way parents are when they don't want to say, I told you so, but you know they're thinking it. My mom had never been Chloe's biggest fan. Always said she seemed self-centered, and that I gave more than I got. My dad just told me he was proud of me for respecting myself enough to walk away. That too many men stay in situations like mine and lose themselves completely. The strangest part was hearing about Ethan's reaction through the grapevine. Apparently, he'd reached out to Chloe after I left, not to comfort her or start something, but to distance himself from the whole situation. One of Chloe's coworkers, who I'd met a few times at company events, reached out to me through LinkedIn. Told me that Ethan had told people at work, look, I thought they had some kind of open thing going on, and I never meant to cause problems. This is way too much drama for me. I'm out. He basically dropped her the second things got real. Stopped answering her calls, started avoiding her at work. And within a month, he was posting pictures with a completely different girl. Which would have been funny if it wasn't so predictable. The guy who was so interested when she was married suddenly wanted nothing to do with her when she was available and came with baggage. Meanwhile, I was starting to build something that actually felt like a life again. I was sleeping better. Not great, but better than I had in months. No more lying awake wondering where she was or who she was with. I started going to the gym every morning before work. Not to get ripped or prove anything, just to have a routine and clear my head. And it felt good to have control over something again. I was staying at Sam's place, helping him with his house projects on weekends, painting his fence, fixing his deck, replacing his garbage disposal. Doing normal things that didn't involve walking on eggshells around someone else's mood, or wondering if I was about to get hit with another "you're being insecure" conversation. I started looking at apartments, small one-bedroom places where I could start over. And honestly, the idea of having my own space, my own quiet, my own life, without constant tension, felt better than any relationship ever had. 3 months after I left, my parents invited me to their monthly family dinner. The kind of thing we'd been doing since I was a kid. Just a casual Sunday evening at their place with good food and better company. And I was actually looking forward to it. Things were starting to feel normal again. I pulled up to their house around 5, walked into the side door like I always did. My mom was in the kitchen, making her famous pot roast, the smell hitting me the second I stepped inside. My dad was in the living room, watching a game. Sam was already there, helping set the table. Everything felt easy. Comfortable. The kind of comfortable I'd forgotten existed. Then the doorbell rang. I knew immediately something was wrong. Nobody rings the doorbell at my parents' house. You just walk in if you're family. You knock if you're a friend. But you don't ring the doorbell unless you're a stranger. Or you're not sure you're welcome. My mom wiped her hands on her apron and went to answer it. And I heard her voice change, from warm to cold, in about 2 seconds flat. Chloe was standing on the porch. She looked different from the last time I'd seen her. More put together. Hair done professionally. Makeup perfect. Wearing a dress that looked expensive and new. Like she tried to recreate the version of herself from before everything fell apart. Like she thought looking good would somehow undo everything. She asked if she could come in. Said she just needed 5 minutes to talk to me, that she'd been trying to reach me for weeks, and this was her last option. That she deserved at least a chance to explain. My mom, bless her heart, said, "This is a family dinner, and you're not invited." Firm, but not mean. And Chloe started crying, right there on the porch. Real tears. Not the manipulative kind. Saying, "I love him and we can fix everything if he'd just give me a chance and please, I've changed. I quit my job. I blocked Ethan. What more do you want from me?" I walked to the door, stood behind my mom, and looked at Chloe for the first time in months. Really looked at her. And I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No love. Just this empty space where all those feelings used to be. She saw me. And her face lit up like she thought she'd won something. Like my presence meant I was willing to listen. And she started talking fast, tripping over her words. Saying she'd made mistakes, but that every couple goes through hard times. That she understood now what she'd done wrong. That therapy could help us. That she'd do anything. I let her finish. Let her say everything she needed to say. The whole time, my dad and Sam had moved behind me, a silent wall of support. And when she finally stopped talking and looked at me with these desperate, hopeful eyes, I spoke for the first time in months, directly to her. "You told me to leave if I didn't like how you lived your life," I said, keeping my voice calm and level. Not angry. Just stating facts. "I did exactly what you asked." She tried to interrupt. Tried to say, "I didn't mean it like that, but I kept going, because this needed to be said. You ignored every boundary I asked for. You disrespected me for months. You chose him over our marriage every single day. And when I finally had enough, you acted like I was the problem." Sam stepped forward slightly, just enough that she could see him, and added, "And then you faked a pregnancy." Which made her face go red. Her sister's car pulled up then, must have been waiting around the corner, and Chloe's sister got out and tried to pull her away, saying, "Come on, this isn't working. We need to go." But Chloe pulled her arm back. She was full-on sobbing now. Mascara running down her face. And she looked at my parents and said, "Please talk to him. Tell him he's making a mistake." My mom just shook her head and said, "The only mistake he made was staying as long as he did." Chloe turned back to me, begging, don't throw away 6 years like they meant nothing, and I felt my dad's hand on my shoulder as he said, Chloe, you need to leave. And if you come back, we will call the police. Her sister finally got her into the car, practically dragging her, and Chloe was screaming through the window, I'm sorry, Alex. I'm so sorry, as they drove away. We all stood there for a moment, just watching the taillights disappear. And then my mom closed the door, gave me the biggest hug, and said, I am so proud of you for standing your ground. That took real strength. We ate dinner that night, all of us together, and nobody mentioned what had just happened. We just talked about normal things. About Sam's new job opportunity at a tech company in Denver. About my dad's golf game and how he'd finally broken 90. About my mom's book club and the drama over their latest pick. And it felt good. Felt right. Felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The legal stuff wrapped up faster after that. Chloe stopped fighting the divorce. Agreed to all the terms Sarah had laid out. Signed everything without argument. 6 months after I walked out with my boxes and my dignity, the divorce was finalized. I'd already bought a small house by then. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom place with a yard and a garage. The kind of place where I could breathe and think and not feel like I was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. I furnished it slowly, piece by piece, getting things that I actually liked instead of compromising on everything. A big, comfortable couch. A proper desk for my home office. A grill for the backyard. Every time I walked through the door, I felt this sense of peace that I hadn't felt in years. I built a routine that was mine. Work, gym, home projects, dinners with family, drinks with Matt on Fridays. It was simple. And quiet. And exactly what I needed. About 4 months after the divorce was final, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. For a second, I thought about just deleting it without reading. But curiosity got the better of me. It was Chloe. Must have gotten a new phone, or borrowed someone's again. And the message was different from all the others. No manipulation. No begging. No drama. Just a simple statement. I hope you're happy. You deserved better than what I gave you. I stared at that message for a long time. Thought about all the things I could say back. All the anger I could unload. All the hurt I could throw in her face. But none of it seemed worth it anymore. I typed back 2 words. I know, and then I blocked the number, deleted the conversation, and went back to my life. But here's the thing. About 6 months after that, I ran into one of her old coworkers at a coffee shop. Downtown, the same one who'd messaged me about Ethan. We got to talking. Turns out Chloe never found another consulting job. The industry is pretty small, and word had gotten around about the drama. So she ended up working retail at some department store. A massive step down from where she'd been. And Ethan? He'd gotten engaged to someone else about 4 months after everything went down. Some analyst from a different department. They just bought a house together. The coworker showed me Ethan's Instagram, and there he was, looking happy with his new fiancée, like Chloe had never even existed. As for me? I was sitting there in that coffee shop on a Saturday morning, no plans except maybe hitting the hardware store and working on my fence, drinking good coffee in peace. And I realized I hadn't felt this content in years. The thing nobody tells you about walking away from someone who doesn't respect you is how much lighter you feel after. Not immediately, no. But gradually. Like you've been carrying this immense weight for so long that you forgot it was there, until suddenly, it's gone. I learned that you can't make someone respect you. You can't argue them into it, or love them into it, or sacrifice enough to earn it. They either respect you or they don't. And if they don't, the only thing you can do is respect yourself enough to leave. Chloe thought I was bluffing that night when she told me to leave. Thought I'd sit there and take it, like I'd been taking everything else. Thought she could have her marriage and her freedom and her attention from other men, all at the same time, without consequences. But I wasn't bluffing. I was just done. Done trying to fix something that only I wanted to fix. Done being made to feel crazy for having basic expectations. Done living in a relationship where I was always the problem. She tested me, and I passed by failing her test. By choosing myself over her drama. By packing my boxes and walking away while she was out living her life like I didn't matter. The last time I drove past our old apartment building, I didn't feel anything. No nostalgia. No regret. No what-ifs. Just gratitude that I'd had the strength to leave when I did. Some people will test your boundaries just to see if you'll enforce them. And when you finally do, they'll act shocked that you meant what you said. Chloe wanted freedom without losing security. Wanted to explore other options while keeping me as a backup plan. And when I refused to play that role, she couldn't understand why I wouldn't fight for her. But here's the truth. I did fight for her. For 2 years, I fought while she pulled away. And the night I stopped fighting wasn't the night I gave up on our marriage. It was the night I finally started fighting for myself instead. What do you think about this story?